So let's move to the discussion. And similar to the last week, please have a pen and a paper because probably we may do some exercises in between. So it's better to have some uh, stationery with you. Okay. Uh, I hope you are very thorough with money creation process, what we discussed last week. And some important thing has happened last week in Sri Lanka. Okay, now related to this slide, we can relate what has happened in the during the last week. Now here we have defined money multiplier. Remember, money multiplier is how much money is created in the economy if the central bank has issued base money. So base money, we know it has two components, currency in circulation and central bank or some commercial bank reserves with the central bank. Those are the two components. And I told you base money would change if there is any change in these two components. And also the relationship between base money and the total money supply in the economy is given by the money multiplier. So if you simply divide broad money supply, that is the total money in the economy, by base money, you get money multiplier. Remember, for example, if you have 5,000 broad money, and if you divide it by base money, which equals to 1,000, 5,000 divided by 1,000 equals 5. That is money multiplier. I hope you remember and you are well thorough with that. And I also gave you a kind of a shortcut to calculate money multiplier. I gave you this simple equation, M equals 1 divided by RR. M means money multiplier. 1 divided by RR means RR is the reserve ratio. 1 divided by RR means reciprocal of the reserve ratio. So if you have the reserve ratio given, you can simply calculate the money multiplier here. Now, sometimes back, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, the money multiplier was reserve ratio was somewhere around 10%. Some, let's say 20, 15 years ago, it was 10%. So in that case, how do you calculate money multiplier? It's simply 1 divided by 10%, which means 10. And later on, reserve money, the reserve requirement was brought down. And this year, at the beginning of this year, it was 5% reserve requirement. So what is money multiplier? 1 divided by 5%, which means 1 divided by 0.05. So theoretically, it should be how much? Money multiplier. 1 divided by 0.05 means 20. So theoretically, it should be 20. If you inject 1 rupee, it will create 20 rupees in the economy. And during this corona virus period, to support the economic activity, the central bank further reduced the reserve ratio. So it was revised down to 4% sometimes back. Sometimes in the sense it was reduced in around March. At the beginning of the pandemic crisis, the central bank responded very in advance and also adequately. So the central bank reduced the reserve ratio. It was brought down to 4%. So now what is multiplier? 1 divided by 4%, which equals 25. Okay. So it was about 25. If you inject 1 rupee to the economy, that would create 25 more rupees in the economy. So as long as you bring down the reserve ratio, you increase money multiplier. I hope you remember it. And what has happened during last week? The central bank further reduced the reserve ratio. To inject more money to the economy, the central bank further reduced the reserve ratio. So the reserve ratio was brought down again to 2%. Now it is only 2%, which means the commercial banks are only required to maintain 2% at the central bank for their liquidity needs. If customers come and ask for their money, now their buffer is only 2%. So in a way, they are having a very tight situation. Imagine everyone comes to the central bank and asks for money, or if they come to their own bank, commercial bank, and ask for money, they don't have enough liquidity in their in the bank. So the buffer is with the central bank. Buffer is the reserve requirement. Currently, it's 2%. It's a very low reserve requirement, but central bank has done it to inject money to the economy. So now reserve ratio 2% means how much money is created in the economy through multiplier. 1 divided by 2%, which means 1 divided by 0.02. So what is the multiplier? Theoretically multiplier should be now 50. Why? If you divide 1 by 0.02, it equals to 50. If you inject money to the economy, base money, that will create 50 rupees in the economy. So in a situation like this, where we need more money and credit growth, that is okay to have, more money creation. But in a situation, let's say if inflation is going up, if we see inflationary pressures are coming up, we cannot allow to have such low reserve ratio. So in that sense, a central bank would respond by changing the reserve ratio. When you increase reserve ratio, then it will bring down the money creation. But right now, the central bank wants to have more money in the economy, liquidity in the economy. So the reserve ratio is down at very low levels. So keep in mind, at present, last week, actually, it's on Tuesday or Wednesday, the central bank reduced the reserve ratio to 2%. Now, every commercial bank only needs to keep money in the central bank equaling to 2% of their deposits, right? So that's an interesting development, practical development. Now, remember I told you, if you change reserve ratio here, likewise, that will have more impact on money multiplier. Lower the reserve ratio, let's say 10%, higher the money creation. Higher the reserve ratio, let's say 50%, that limits money creation. So I hope it's clear. When we move to reserve money discussion and its sources based on the Sri Lankan context, and we started with reserve money, and we looked at what are the components of reserve money we have in the reserve money, what are the components, and also we looked at what are the factors behind. And I simplified those factors in this equation. Reserve money equals NFA plus NDA of the central bank. NFA means, very simply, you can say the central bank's foreign exchange buying and selling. That is the operation behind NFA. NDA means net domestic assets of the central bank. That is basically central bank loans to the government and the commercial bank. Now I hope you remember, you understand, whenever the central bank injects more money, when central bank prints more money, that is basically only through two sources. What are the two sources? Either central bank should have foreign inflows. Then foreign inflows are purchased by the central bank, and then it will inject money to the economy. Then the other source, the central bank loans to the government and the commercial banks. So whenever the central bank gives loans to the government and the commercial banks, that creates new money, money printing. Now, these days we are talking about this money printing, excessive money printing by the central bank to support the economy. Now, what the central bank has done, starting from March during this pandemic period, it has printed more than 300 billion new money to support the economic activity. Through which source? There was no foreign exchange coming in. We don't have any exports now. The growth, it's negative. We don't have enough remittances coming in. We don't have tourism. We don't have any foreign loans or whatever. So no foreign dollars are coming right now. So there's no money to purchase by the central bank in terms of foreign currency. So what is the only source? The central bank has injected these 300 billion not new money through what? By giving loans to the government. So the central bank has given enough loans or excessive loans to the government during last few months. So as a result, the money circulation in the economy has increased by this amount. So I hope now you have some, theoretical understanding how the money is created and how the central bank can pump new money to the economy. So how the central bank print new money to the economy, either through foreign assets, either through domestic assets, that is basically giving loans to the government. Okay. So if you read the chapter 7, you will have a clear understanding about this money source, reserve money source. I told you this table is directly from central bank annual report. And if you look at this annual report, you will see reserve money movements and the factors in detail. There are explanations are given in. And I looked at these two charts last week. First, the currency, because it's the main component of reserve money. And then we looked at movements of reserve money in Sri Lanka every year. And I told you during last 2 years, there was a growth in reserve money, but during last year, there was a reduction in reserve money. And I told you reserve money during some periods, it's peaking, it's going up because of the festive demand. And in some periods, you see large drops of the reserve money movements. That is basically due to central bank reduction of SRR, statutory reserve ratio. Now, during last week, the central bank has reduced the reserve requirement. So what is the implication on reserve money? What can you expect on reserve money? Reserve money will increase or will decrease with reserve ratio cut? Can someone tell me? I hope you are with me. Can anyone give me an answer? So reserve requirement has reduced last week to 2%. What will happen to this reserve money line? Let's say this the top line is 2020. Let's say, what will happen to that line? There will be a peak or there will be a drop. What do you think?
There will be a drop.
There will be a drop. Exactly. Excellent. So there will be a drop. So similarly, here in 2018, there was a reserve ratio reduction. So it dropped by that amount. Why? Remember, there are two components of reserve money: currency in circulation, deposits of commercial banks with the central bank. So when the reserve ratio is cut, the central bank reduces that deposits to the commercial banks. So as a result, this SRR balance with the central bank will be reduced. By that amount, reserve money will be dropped. For example, during last reserve ratio reduction, the central bank has released around 115 billion rupees to the economy by a way of reduction of SRR. So by that amount, reserve money will drop, as you clearly say. So that is very clear. Second question: will it be having an impact on broad money supply, the total money supply? Will there be any impact on the total money, not reserve money? Total money we have not covered, but I gave you very basic understanding that day. What will happen to total money? Will it go up or go down? Total money supply, which means broad money. With reserve ratio reduction, broad money will go up or go down?
Go up.
It will go up. Exactly. Why?
Because the money supply will be high.
Money supply will be high. Through what? Which channel? Correct? You're on the right track. How it will happen? Let's give a try. Let's try to sequence the implication. So what will happen when reserve ratio is down? It will affect on what? Obviously, we have seen it will affect reserve money. Reserve money will be dropped.
Yes.
But what will happen to some other variables? What is the link between reserve money and broad money? How do we link those two? What is the linkage? Do I need to go back to that slide? How do you link reserve money and broad money? Through which variable? Any response?
With the money multiplier?
Exactly. Excellent. Through money multiplier. So through money multiplier, remember in this case, broad M, which means total money supply, equals simple M means money multiplier, B means base reserve money. So M is multiplier. And we have just seen here, if you change reserve ratio, money multiplier would change, isn't it? So as a result, here, if you reduce reserve ratio, what will happen to multiplier? Multiplier will go up, isn't it?
Going up, yes.
So when multiplier goes up, what will happen to total money?
Total money will be up.
It will go up. Excellent, excellent. It will go up. So even though we see a reduction in reserve money, through money multiplier, we will see an increase in total money. It will not happen overnight. Through the multiplier process, through credit creation, it will happen. So next year, when we have real numbers, we will see broad money has expanded because of the reserve money reduction and multiplier reduction. Okay, I hope it's clear. Now let's move to today's discussion. We talked about reserve money in the last week, and I just gave an update based on the recent developments. Now let's move to the second part of our discussion. Now, last week we realized in the economy there are more money than issued by the central bank. So that is happening through what? Through deposits of the financial institutions. So financial institutions take deposits, and through that they expand the definition of money. Even in the case of Sri Lanka, other than reserve money, by adding deposits of financial institutions, we can expand the definition of money. So what are the financial institutions we consider in Sri Lanka? In the case of money, we take two broad components. What are those two components? We take banks as well as finance companies. So when you say banks, we have two types of banks, isn't it? We have commercial banks and specialized banks. Then we have finance companies. So our first definition of money will start with the most important banking sector in Sri Lanka, that is commercial banking sector. We call them LCBs. LCBs. Why? We call them as licensed commercial banks. So licensed commercial banks are the most important financial institution intermediary in the Sri Lankan economy. I hope you remember we discussed in the very first session. So they are very important. And based on their deposit liabilities, we can define monetary aggregates. So the first two monetary aggregates in the case of Sri Lanka, M1, M2B, are based on commercial bank deposits. Okay. The last monetary aggregates in Sri Lanka, M4, is based on deposits of specialized banks and finance companies. So you can make a difference. The first two are from commercial banks. The last component is from commercial bank plus specialized banks and finance companies. So when we go to that slide, you will understand. So in that sense, the banking sector is playing an important role in the Sri Lankan economy, and their deposits are very important component in monetary aggregate. So let's start with these definitions in the next slide. First one, M1. So in short, we call it as M1, but the term M1 indicates narrow money. How do you define narrow money? Narrow money is the sum of currency held by the public and demand deposits held by the public with commercial banks. This DBUs means domestic banking units of commercial banks. I hope some of you are basically bankers. You may have some, experience with banking in Sri Lanka. In commercial banks, there are two arms, basically the DBU, domestic banking unit, and the OBU, offshore banking unit, or FCBU, foreign currency banking unit. Here, this M1 is basically coming from the domestic banking unit of commercial bank. So if you simply take the sum of currency held by public, demand deposits held by public in commercial banks, that equals to M1. So take that in mind or write down it. I have to make some adjustments very clear here. Okay. Take it very clearly. What is the definition? Narrow money is currency held by the public and demand deposits held by the public at commercial banks. That equals to narrow money. So why it is narrow? We started with reserve money, remember? And the next monetary aggregate is narrow money, which why we call it narrow? It has limited monetary variables, liabilities, but it's very liquid, very liquid. How do you know it's liquid? Currency is very liquid, isn't it? 100% liquid. What do you mean by demand deposits? Can anyone tell me what is demand deposits in commercial banks? Current account, exactly. So current accounts are very liquid. Why do you call it very liquid? Whenever you go to the bank, you present a check, you can straight away take back your money. If you give a check to someone, which we call as a negotiable instrument, and that person can simply go to the bank and encash it. It's very liquid. So those two liquid instruments, currency and demand deposits, are forming narrow money. Okay, clear? Now, how do you identify narrow money? Reserve money we identified from the central bank balance sheet, isn't it? Narrow money we can identify balance sheets of commercial banks. Commercial banks, not only one bank. So we take entire balance sheets of all the commercial banks and we consolidate it, summation, or we aggregate it to identify, because let's say bank A is having some amount of deposits, bank B is having some amount of deposits, you have to take the aggregation. So the aggregation of demand deposits are here in this commercial bank balance sheet. And the central bank balance sheet, of course, you have to take it again. Why? Because you take the currency component here, right? Currency is also included in this case. So which means both the central bank balance sheet and the commercial bank balance sheets are considered. Okay. So that's about definition. Now I am telling you some tips related to some calculations. Okay. Calculations. We have to be clear and very accurate in the calculation. Now look at this term, currency held by the public. Now, is it the same with reserve money? Do you think it's the same or it's different? In reserve money also we have currency, remember? So is it the same currency here or it's different? When you read these few words, currency held by the public, is it same as reserve money or different? I'm asking you. Same. Any other answers? Conceptually, it's same. Why? Currency. It's in the public domain, in public hands. But when you calculate it, we have to be careful. Why? In reserve money, we have currency, but it's the total currency. You call it currency in circulation. Remember, currency in circulation. Remember that word. I told you there was a mistake in the slide. I told you to correct it. Currency in circulation. Here, I told you just to change it. This public should be currency in circulation. So here we have currency issue, the same thing. Now here, it's not currency in circulation, what we have in narrow money. It's currency held by public. So what do you need to adjust? You have to deduct currency held by commercial banks or government or whoever, right? You only take what is held by the public, like you, like me, what we are having in our wallets. So that currency part is considered as part of narrow money, but we have to deduct commercial bank currency, what they have. Usually you call it till cash. Bankers know in commercial banks, in their vaults, in their drawers, they have money for their daily needs. You call it till cash. that till cash is adjusted from the total currency, and that's how you arrive currency held by the public. The second component, demand deposits held by the public, there you don't need to worry about, because it's broadly what we give in the exam. You don't need to make any adjustment, because if you do it theoretically, there should be some adjustments, because interbank deposits have to be adjusted. But in your exam, you don't need to worry about that. So keep that in mind. In your exam, whenever you say currency held by the public, you have to take the difference between currency in circulation and currency held by banks. Demand deposits you can take as it is. We'll do an exercise, then you will understand. Okay, that is M1. Then we move to M2. In Sri Lanka, we have two versions of M2. First M2 and the other one is M2B. Right? Both are very same, but only one difference. We'll see. So M1 is narrow money. Broad money means M2. Broad money is the total money available in the economy for transactions. So that total money in the economy used for transaction has two things broadly, both deposits and cash. Okay. Here in M1 we have cash, we have demand deposits only. In broad money M2 we have cash and deposits, not only demand deposits, we have a large volume or spectrum of deposits here. Let's see what are these deposits. So the first definition of broad money, as I said, in Sri Lanka, M2. Okay. But right now, we don't use M2 widely. So M2, here you can, if you want in this slide, you can simply write, if you want M2 definition in Sri Lanka, that is simply narrow money plus time and savings deposits of commercial banks. Okay, narrow money plus time and savings deposits of commercial banks, if it is only M2. I'm repeating, if it is M2, time and savings deposits plus narrow money. But as I said, it is not used much in Sri Lanka. Instead, we use a term called M2B. M2B. That is the most important broad money variable in Sri Lanka. M2B. So that M2B is simply the total currency held by the public and time, savings and demand deposits held by the public. So there you have both C, currency, and D, deposits. What do you have as deposits? The total deposit component of the banking sector, the commercial banking sector. So in this chart, if you look at this pie chart, that will be clear. So out of the broad money M2B, 14% is roughly currency. Okay, currency held by the public, the first component. The balance 86% is demand, time, savings deposits of domestic banks and foreign currency banking units. That's the difference between M2 and M2B. In M2, we only have domestic banks, but we have expanded the definition to M2B. So in M2B, we have both commercial bank demand deposits time deposits. Time means what? Fixed deposits. And savings deposits, which are operated by the domestic banking unit and the foreign banking unit. You can call it as quasi money. I hope you remember when we started money discussion, I told you you can call it as quasi money because it's very close to money, very close to 100% liquidity, right? Not 100%, but very close to 100%. Or you call it near money. Remember the word near money, right? So narrow money plus near money is what? Basically broad money in Sri Lanka. So that's how the money is defined. Now someone can ask, so here we have given a summary of M2 and M2B. I hope it's clear what I have discussed here. It's summarized. M2 is M1 plus time and savings deposits of domestic banking units. M2B means M2 plus all foreign currency deposits held by the OBUs, which means offshore banking units. So here you have how do we do it technically, right? We take in central bank, at the central bank, RFC, resident foreign currency, 50%, NRFC. I hope you have some idea about these deposits. Earlier we had these names, RFC accounts, NRFC accounts, likewise. But now in Sri Lanka, we don't have such, definitions. Now you call it personal foreign currency accounts, business foreign currency accounts, likewise. But still, the same thing happens. What we do, we take a part of foreign currency deposits, right? So I'll make it very clear at the end before we conclude this session, but have some idea what do we have in each component. Okay. Then this broad money, M2 or M2B, I'm mainly talking about actually M2B because that's the main important variable. I told you in the reserve money case, we saw money is created through operations in the economy. Central banks' operations in the economy will create money. We saw it in the case of reserve money. Similarly, in the case of broad money in the economy, the operations of the banking sector will work. So in that sense, the central banks and foreign commercial banks, foreign currency operations will determine the broad money. Central banks and commercial banks, domestic operations will determine the broad money. Okay, so if you go to this table, that will be very clear. I'm not spending much time on this because in your exam you don't need to have these calculations in terms of sources of broad money. Okay, we don't talk about it. We talk about only the items, but we are not doing any calculations. So this calculation is actually you do in the central banking part in your next level. But right now we should have some clear idea. That's the purpose. Now I told you broad money is sum of foreign currency operations of the commercial banking system and central banks and domestic banking operations of the central banking and commercial bank. So you can call it net foreign assets of the banking system, net domestic assets of the banking system. So here on the liability side, I already mentioned to you, money is a liability, right? Even M2, you call it broad money, it's a liability to the issuer. So the central bank and commercial banks both are liable. Central bank is liable for currency and demand deposits. Commercial banks are liable for times and savings deposits. foreign currency deposits. So that is the liability side. How it is funded, how it is sourced, we already know. Foreign assets of the central bank and of the commercial bank, and domestic assets of the central bank and of the commercial banks. So with that, I think you have some clear idea when a central bank and a commercial bank is having foreign operations, that contributes to money supply, the broad money supply. Okay. Similarly, when the central bank and commercial banks giving loans to the government, giving loans to the corporations, public corporations, what are the public corporations? You call it SOEs in Sri Lanka, state-owned enterprises, CPC, CEB, Water Board, Satosa, all these are basically public corporations. So whenever the banking system gives a loan to them, that creates money. And the major important component is, if you look at the number also, it is huge, credit to the private sector, or claims means credit to the private sector. So in broad money supply, if you look at the number also, what is the most significant component? That's basically private sector credit. So whenever you give more credit to the economy, that creates more money. That's why I told you at the beginning, lowering reserve ratio will increase money multiplier through what? Through more loans. People are having more access to loans now because banks are having enough money. Banks will give enough loans at low rates. So creation of more loans means loans to the private sector. Whenever it expands, that creates more money, broad money, right? I hope it's clear. I'll summarize at the end the sources. So if you look at this table, this is simply from the central bank annual report. What I have mentioned in the hypothetical numbers here is given very clear in this slide. So broad money is M2B in Sri Lanka. Currently it's around 7,600 billion. How it is created? Through net foreign assets of 128 and net domestic assets of 7,495. And out of that, if you look at the largest component of around 5,798 is from what? From the private sector credit. Okay. And here you have some monetary growth rates also. You need to know growth rates, how to calculate it, because you need to identify whether the monetary growth has increased or decreased. For that matter, you have to know some way of doing it. Okay, I'll show you on the board in a while. Then the final monetary component in Sri Lanka is M4. M4 means, again, it's a broad money variable, but in Sri Lanka, we use a specific term for that. We call it financial survey. Financial survey. So financial survey is the most wider monetary aggregate in Sri Lanka. It is larger than M2B. If you look at this calculation, it's the money available or consolidated money in both the central bank and commercial banks, as well as LSBs and LFCs. LSB means licensed specialized banks. Can you give me an example for a specialized bank? NSB.
NSB.
Exactly. State Mortgage Bank, Sanasa Bank, all these are specialized banks. Do they have current accounts? Do they have current accounts? They don't have current accounts. They only have time and savings deposits, right? And LFCs are what? License finance companies. You are very familiar with the finance companies now. With these days, couple of finance companies were closed down. Some issues are going up with some issues, finance companies. So these licensed finance companies, they are also not accepting demand deposits, and they only have time and savings deposit. So to expand the money supply, we take that component as well. So now we can define M4. M4 is financial survey, which is a broad money variable, and how it is calculated as the sum of broad money M2B plus time and savings deposits of LSBs, which means specialized banks, and LFCs, which means finance companies. Okay. And how that money is sourced? Again, like in the case of broad money, it is from the NFA of banking system and other financial institutions like LSB and LFC, and NDA of the banking system, which is commercial bank, central bank, and the LSB, LFC. I'm not touching in detail. I am hoping that you have the principle very clear in your mind. So here we have basically summarized all these components, right? So if you look at this slide, you will see how the base money is composed, how the narrow money is composed, how the broad money is composed, how the broad money M2B is composed, and how the financial survey is basically composed, right? So here it's a summary. Now let me switch to the board and summarize these monetary aggregates for you to have very clear understanding. Okay. Now I'm dividing this board into two parts. The first part is basically the monetary aggregate, and the other part is basically the source of this money. Can you see the board? At least can you see me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I'm going to write on the whiteboard. I hope it will be clear for you, and I'll try to make it very, visible. So if I write here, you see, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So in this part we have monetary aggregates. Okay. In this part we have factors or sources. Unfortunately, these pens are not, writing well. So I'm talking about monetary aggregates in Sri Lanka. So first component, we start with what? Reserve money in Sri Lanka. Reserve money, you can call it M0, you like, or base money. So what are the components of reserve money in the case of Sri Lanka? First component is CIC. What is CIC? CIC fertilizer. What is CIC? Currency in circulation. Remember, currency in circulation has two components. What are these two components? Currency held by the public, the first component. Then currency held by commercial banks. So both are included in reserve money. Currency held by public, currency held by commercial banks. So that is the first component, currency. Second component is what? Commercial bank deposits with the central bank. Commercial bank deposits with the central bank. You can call it reserves. Remember? Reserves. So this is the first monetary aggregate, reserve money. And I told you how it is calculated through the net foreign assets of the central bank plus net domestic assets of the central bank, right? Net foreign assets and net domestic assets of the central bank. So in our exam, we are not talking about this NFA, NDA, net foreign assets, net domestic assets. What we need to know, what are the factors actually related to these two variables. So I hope you have some idea about these factors we already discussed. What do we have? Foreign currency, buying and selling. Central bank, foreign currency, buying and selling. Second factor, central bank loans to government. How the central bank give loans to the government? Basically, treasury bill purchase. Not so sure whether you can see it. Treasury bill purchase. So that is the main way of giving loans to the government. There are other ways. The government can have a direct loan from the central bank. That is also possible. Okay. Third, this is first one. Second one. Third one, central bank loans to financial institutions, FIs. Right? Central bank loans to FIs. Clear? Can you see it very clearly? Are you following? Can you see it clearly? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay, right. Now then, this is reserve money, M0. What is our next component? M1. M1 means narrow money. Right? What I'm talking here is actually very much important for the exam. I'm summarizing. In the case of narrow money, what do we have? We have currency held by public, which is this component, isn't it? This part, right? Currency held by public. Then we have demand deposits, or you can call it current accounts, demand deposits held by public with the commercial banks. demand deposits held by public with the commercial banks, right? So that is the second important monetary aggregates. Third monetary aggregate is M2. Here we are basically talking about M2B because we are talking about Sri Lanka. Okay, because of that we talk about M2B. But remember, this can go up to various levels. Let's say in Sri Lanka we have M4 also. Likewise M5, M6, M8. Likewise you can go down. But we don't have that much of instruments in the case of Sri Lanka. We only have up to M4. So how do you calculate M2B? That's basically M1 plus time and savings deposits, TSD, time and savings and savings deposit, because demand deposits here already captured. Okay, so you call it TSD, time and savings deposits of commercial banks, both DBU and OBU, domestic banking units and offshore banking units. Okay, so I'm only presenting you three aggregates here, major aggregates, 1, 2, 3. In our slide there are more aggregates, but I'm only picking it as 3 because this is the exam focus. I hope this is clear, the aggregates. Then what are the factors behind this M1 and M2? Again, similar to here, NFA of banking system, BS, plus NDA of banking system, right? But as I said, in the exam, we are not talking about NFA and DA, but let's try to identify the factors behind these NFA and DA. So what are the factors? The first one is Forex buy sell by both central bank and commercial banks. Forex buy sell by the central bank and the commercial banks. Okay, so those are done by both parties. Then we have the second important component, credit, right? Credit is given by two types of institutions here. The first institution directly from here, central bank, because we are taking the central bank and banking system, right? So you have to have central bank also. So the central bank is giving loans to the government and financial institutions. That is included here. Then we have commercial banks also giving loans to government, to corporations, and the private sector. Okay, I'm going back. So the factors behind this broad money is foreign currency buying and selling by the central bank and commercial banks, credit provided by the central bank and commercial banks. Central bank credit is basically to the government and the financial institutions. Commercial bank are credit to the government, corporations, and the private sector. I hope you can understand the central bank does not directly give loans to the private sector. Right? So you can't go to the central bank and ask for a loan. So since I am working at the central bank, my friends ask, "Machang, central bank in Vadakan, but loan nayak ganna bhai." Is it possible? No. Central bank does not give loans to the private sector. It only gives loan to government and financial institutions. Now, recent measures the central bank has taken is giving loans to financial institutions. They are giving loans to their customers. So they can give loans to the government, corporations, and private sector. So this part, this summary is really important for you to get a clear understanding about the entire picture about money and its sources. Do you have any questions on this before we move? Is there any uncleared areas? Just let me know. Since we are working remotely, if you have any questions, I think you will be in trouble going forward. Let me know if you have any issues. Any problem? Is anyone having any comment, clarification? Were you able to copy it down? This board? Hello? Are you awake? Right. It seems you don't have any issue, any problem. Let us continue with the discussion. Now here in this slide, what I have mentioned is summarize in terms of money, right? Not the factors, but the summary of these monetary aggregates. Now in this chart, I have given you some practical examples based on the Sri Lankan context, Sri Lankan monetary aggregate. So if you read this chapter 7, you will find out these charts very clearly, and there are explanations also. Right now, let's look at the lines here. I hope it's visible for you. So this yellow line is reserve money. Green line is M1, narrow money, and blue and red lines are broad money aggregates, which means M2B or M4, financial service, anything. So what are the observations that you can make during what has happened during last many years, especially in 2018 and 2019, monetary growth has gone down, reduced. How do you calculate this monetary growth? That's one point I want to make. You need to know how to calculate monetary growth, because in your exam, there are some questions related to calculating monetary growth. How do you calculate? We basically calculate point-to-point growth, or you call it year-on-year growth. So I'll switch back to the board and show you an example related to monetary growth. Now let's say we have two time periods. Let's say you have 2018, 2019, right? 2018 money, let's say, reserve money, let's say, right? Reserve money is, total reserve money is 500. And it has increased to in 2019 to, let's say, 600. Right? 500 increased to 600. Now, if someone asks, what is the rate, what is the expansion here from 500 to 600? 100 increase is there. Let's say in billions, 100 billion increase is there. So that is the absolute expansion. Absolute means the total monetary value of the expansion. But if someone asks, what is the percentage growth of this expansion? How do you calculate? How do you calculate? So for that, you can adapt a simple formula. Let's say, how do you calculate the growth? Let's say this one is P0. This one is P1, right? Previous period, new period, P1. So how do you calculate growth? You take the difference between P1 and P0 divided by P0. This equation is helping us to calculate year-on-year or point-to-point growth of any variable. Point-to-point growth of any variable. Now, from this example, you can easily calculate the monetary growth. What is the monetary growth here? In P1, the monetary value is 600. In P0, monetary value is 500 divided by P0 value 500, which equals how much? Growth is 20%. 20%. Okay. Now, likewise, you should be able to calculate monetary growth in your exam, because you need to know whether the monetary growth has reduced or increased. So, as a result, you have to have some idea as to how to calculate the monetary growth. So I hope it's clear. Okay. Simply the change growth. So this chart is simply presenting the year-on-year growth. So as I said, during last 2 years, monetary growth in Sri Lanka is on a downward trend. And reserve money, if you look at, it has some large drops. And someone of you gave the real answer for that. The actual reason for this large drop. Why? Reduction in reserve money ratio. So when you reduce reserve money, reserve requirement, RR, reserve requirement, then it will have an impact on reserve money growth as well. So here actual numbers from the annual report last year, as I said, in 2018, the monetary growth was around 13%, but in 2019, it has dropped to 7%. So the growth has dropped, right? And in the next chart, I have given you a summary of what I have already presented here. So what is this summary tells us? How to calculate reserve money, how to calculate narrow money, how to calculate broad money, and so on. Okay, so this is actually directly from the annual report. If you look at this annual report chapter 7, you have this table. So as I said, the reserve money is the sum of first three components actually: currency, commercial bank deposits is the central bank, and government agencies deposits. I told you this third one is very negligible. You can omit it. So ideally, reserve money is the sum of 1 and 2. And if you take demand deposits with that currency held by the public, that will give you narrow money supply. Remember, I showed you on the board. Then if you add up time and savings to that, deposits to that, you will get broad money supply. Then if you add adjusted foreign currency, remember I told you we take foreign currency deposits, then you get the consolidated broad money supply, which means M2B in the case of Sri Lanka. So I really recommend you have a clear idea about this number 4, number 6, and number 10, how it is calculated, right? It's very important. And here you see the numbers for money multiplier in the case of Sri Lanka. So if I ask you how to calculate money multiplier, and also there is one called velocity. Velocity I already mentioned to you in a previous session, the speed of money circulation. How do you calculate that? So I'm switching back to the board for these two. Multiplier, we already know how to calculate it. Broad money divided by what? Reserve money. Right? You already know it because we have discussed that in a number of places. Then the velocity, V. Velocity is the speed of money circulation. How do you calculate? You calculate it using nominal GDP. Nominal GDP. Nominal GDP means national output in terms of nominal terms, right? Divided by broad. So that will tell you how much money, the speed of circulation for make purchases. To buy these nominal GDP, how many times broad money should be circulating? That is the idea, right? If indicates 2 or 3, which means 2 times should be circulating to have this GDP purchased. If it indicates 3, which means 3 times. I hope that's clear. Okay. So in this table, those numbers are given, and I just showed you how to calculate these last 2 items. And here, this is from the annual report. I told you last year monetary growth numbers, and one of the important figure that we look at is credit to the private sector. I already mentioned to you. And if you look at these numbers, during last 2 years, from 15.9 to 4.3, it has largely dropped. So, which is credit growth in the economy is right now, it's low. Even from this chart, you will see credit is basically having a downward trend. That's why the central bank is trying to give a boost to credit right now by lowering rates, by lowering reserve ratio, by giving various credit schemes by the central bank. Okay. Right. Now it's your turn. Now, before we forget this, let's move to some example questions from past papers. Okay. Now here, I'm not going to these detailed questions because probably at the end, we will try to have a discussion on some selected questions. But before we forget some of the concepts, we can try some important questions in this part. Okay. Now here, let's see, if you look at this question, if the initial deposit is 1,000, statutory reserve ratio is 20%, calculate the money supply. We did a similar question last week. Remember? How do you do it? If the SRR is 20%, we know multiplier is 5. 1 divided by 20%. So if multiplier is 5, initial deposit is 1,000, which means the money supply is 5 into 1,000, 5,000. So we did similar question. I want you to try here this question. This is the most latest question from the paper 2019. So in 2019 February paper, there was no question for calculations. There's no direct question for calculations. So which means there is a high probability this time there could be a question on calculations. So you need to be familiar. You need to be thorough with calculations. So take your pen and the paper and try to answer these questions as much as possible. We have roughly 40 minutes available from this point onwards, and I recommend you take few minutes, try some questions. Let's try to time, discuss time to time. Otherwise you will fall in sleep in 40 minutes time, right? So you try the first one, and in few minutes time we'll discuss that. The second one likewise. So why don't you give a try? Okay, agree? Can do? Hello? Okay, great. So let's try. If you do it perfectly, you don't have to worry about money. Then you are well equipped and very well ready for the money part. Okay, try. Let's do it. Thank you. So I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. So you should also not go anywhere. Try these questions. What is the reserve money value for 2016? Even you can type your answer, then I can see.
855 billion.
How much? (2016) reserve money value? I couldn't hear. So can you repeat your answer if anyone is having? Or you can just type it. Don't worry, it's only us. Just let me know whether you're right or wrong. I don't mind. Only thing you need to, try it. That's the best thing. What is the reserve money value for 2016? For the first column, this column. Is anyone having an answer? I heard some of you were telling something. I couldn't hear it properly. Hello? I see a lot of names here. Teshani, Takshila, Taranga, are you there? Tarusha, I don't know. Tarusha.
So the answer is 855.
855. Correct.
Billion.
Correct. Exactly. And for 2017?
938.
938. Excellent. Excellent. So who's that? May I know your name?
Ishara.
Ishara, your answer is perfect, and you have, I think, learned the concept very clearly. So how did you calculate for those 2 years? I mentioned to you very clearly, to calculate reserve money, you take what? Currency in circulation plus commercial bank deposits with the central bank. Do we have currency in circulation given here straight away? Straight away, we don't have. But we are given components. What are the components? Currency held by public plus currency held with commercial banks. That equals to what? Currency in circulation. So if you add up 429 and 123, that equals to what? Currency in circulation plus commercial bank deposits with the central bank. So if you add up all these three straight away, you get reserve money. So as Ishara mentioned very clearly, adding 429, 123, 303, you will get 855. In a similar way, for 2017, if you add up all first three rows, 439, 158, 341, what you get is 938. So the reserve money for 2017 is 938. So what has happened during these 2 periods? Reserve money has increased from 855 to 938 by 83 billion in absolute terms. 83 billion in absolute terms. Does anyone having a growth rate calculate for that? Year-on-year growth? Anyone has done the growth rate, year-on-year growth? Ishara, have you done the growth rate for those 2 years?
No, sir.
No. Okay. How do you do it? Remember my equation? You take the P1, which equals 938. You deduct P0, which means 855, as a percentage of P0, which means 855. So you get roughly 10% growth. 10% growth. Even without calculating, you can simply, compare these numbers and see the growth. You can take a guess. For example, reserve money has increased by 83 billion. So 83 billion against 855 means roughly 10%, right? In that way also you can look at. But be careful, if the examiner asks you to calculate the growth rate exactly, you should know it. You should know it, right? So please try in your leisure time to do the growth rate as well, right? So that is helpful. If you have done the second part, narrow money, does anyone having it? Narrow money? Since we are having only 15 minutes, I'll go with the answers. That will be, I think, ideal at this stage. How do you calculate narrow money? The definition of narrow money is what? Currency held by public plus demand deposits held by public with the commercial bank. So for 2016, you can calculate narrow money as 429 plus 347, which equals 776 billion for 2016. For 2017, currency value is 439, demand deposit value is 353. So adding up those two is 792, right? So when you have those two numbers, you can see the change and the growth rate you can calculate. So numbers I repeat again: M1 776, M1 for 2017 792. Okay. Third point, consolidated broad money or M2B for those two periods. And I hope you remember the formula to calculate M2 or M2B. It's very straightforward. What do we use for M2 or M2B? We take M1 plus time and savings deposits of commercial banks, right? That is item 5. But here you should be careful. There's another line given, 6, adjusted foreign currency deposits, which I told you, those are the deposits held by commercial banks in their offshore banking units. So if it is M2B, you have to adapt that part as well. If it is only M2, it's only sufficient to add M1 and line 5. But here we are asked to give M2B. So which means you have to add M1, line 5 and line 6. Okay. So let's look at the answer. We have already calculated M1 for 2016. That is 776 plus time and savings 4046 plus adjusted foreign currency deposits 582. So the total answer is 5,404. 5,404. And for 2017, how do you calculate? Again, you take M1 plus time and savings deposits held by public with commercial banks, which means line 5, and adjusted foreign currency deposits, which means line 6, which means we already have M1 given, calculated, 792 plus 4,872. We just identify from line 5 and plus 642. Altogether 6,306. 6,306. So you calculate broad money M2B for 2016, 5,404. For 2017, 6,306. So which means there is around 902 billion increase in broad money. So I hope it's clear. Now, let me take a break before I go to the last question. This question is not given here. Based on 2017 numbers, I already mentioned to you, Broad money for 2017 is 6,306. Can someone tell me the money multiplier? Can someone calculate and tell me the money multiplier? Because you have the answers with you now. Just try, it's 1 minute time. It's very easy. And even velocity, last part, you can calculate. I hope you remember these two formulas on the board to calculate money multiplier and velocity. And if you apply it, it's very straightforward. 6.32 for money multiplier.
32.
Yes, it's very straightforward, isn't it? You simply divide broad money by the reserve money value. So broad money I gave you for 2017, 6,306 divided by 938. So which comes to around 6.7, I guess, right? If you divide those two, that's the money multiplier for 2017. Similar way, you can do the money multiplier calculation for 2016. How about velocity? Velocity I define, it is the circulation speed of money. Money multiplier is multiples or creation ability of money. Velocity is circulation. What is the circulation value for these 2 years? 2016 and 2017. The equation, I hope you remember, it's very straightforward. You divide nominal GDP by broad money value. Do we have nominal GDP given? Yes. GDP at current market prices means nominal GDP. So if you divide it by broad money value, you get velocity. So just quickly do the calculation and tell me the answers for 2016 and 17. Velocity. Velocity for 2016, how much? $2.19. What did you divide actually?
The GDP value
and the broad money. Check your calculation again. I think GDP is 11,839. So let me 839. Yes, let me check whether I get the right answer. 11,839 divided by 5,404, which means 2.2. Is it your answer?
Yes.
Great. So in a similar way, you can do the calculation for 2017. Have you done it? What is the answer?
1.79.
1.79. So let's say 1.8. So what really has happened to the multiplier, sorry, velocity during these two periods? velocity has come down. Velocity has reduced. Now, in economies, we see when payment methods are getting popular, the money circulation could go down, isn't it? Now, when you have different payment cards, payment methods like Google Pay, Apple Pay, QR code, these digital type of transactions, then the circulation speed could go down, right? So that is one possibility of explaining this decline. But normally, we have assumed, remember in our discussion, money velocity is in the short run, it's stable, isn't it? Even though there are, slight up and downs, we assume it's stable. So for this economy, we can say velocity is somewhere around 2, right? 1.8, 2.2 means it's close to 2. So we can say over the shorter horizon, velocity is stable around 2. Okay. So I think we have done some good calculation here. And as I said, again, please go through chapter 7 of the annual report. Read the entire money part. Then you will get thorough understanding about how money is behaving, what are the factors behind, how the money has changed during last few periods, few years. So that is important. And also the important factors like private sector credit, as I said, how the credit variable has behaved. If you are working in a bank, in a financial institution, or even if you are a student, it's really important to have some idea about these broad variables. What is the movements of money right now? How the credit is moving in the economy? You should have some broad idea on those things. For that matter, it's really important to look at the annual report. So I really recommend you read chapter 7 of the annual report. And also there is a publication of the central bank price stability pamphlet. That is also some additional reading which will help you to understand this subject, this concept very well. And also if you have some time, try to answer these questions. Most of these questions are from past papers. Actually, almost all questions here from past papers. And if you do these questions, I think that will brush up, or that will shine your knowledge, and you will be memorizing it forever, at least until the exam. So try to do some exercises. We will find some time to do some exercises later, but it's your responsibility too to go through these and do your own revisions and own practice. Okay, so with that, let's conclude today's session. Next week, now we know about money. We have some thorough understanding about money. Now next week, we are going to link it with the economy, how the money is behaving in the economy, and why money is significant for the economy, right? Do we need money in a excess amount, or do we need money to the required amount? So that is our question next week. We will answer that question in money and monetary policy session, right? If you have any questions, as I said, just post me those questions on email, or come back to the class with your questions. So I think if you read the chapters, these things are not rocket science. What I'm telling you here is very clear explanation of the slide. So if you follow that, even that would be sufficient. But for some additional understanding, please refer to those materials. Okay, so I'll see you next week at the same time and sharp 3:30. Okay, have a good weekend and see you next time. Goodbye.